In late 2008, global capital markets were collapsing. Trillions of dollars vanished, investor confidence evaporated, and institutional cash disappeared almost overnight. Inside a small startup called Tesla Motors, the situation was terminal. The company was hemorrhaging cash, burning through its initial funding rounds, and stood merely days away from complete bankruptcy. At the exact same time, his aerospace company, SpaceX, was facing its own catastrophic failure. They had just incinerated $100 million after a third consecutive rocket exploded midair. They had enough parts left for exactly one final launch. To keep both of these companies on life support, Elon Musk had essentially drained his entire Silicon Valley fortune. Today, Musk holds a $400 billion fortune. That wealth was forged by surviving total existential ruin, a survival that required a deeply abnormal psychological tolerance for risk. Growing up in Pretoria, South Africa, Musk experienced severe bullying and deep social isolation. To cope, he retreated inward. He began treating his brain like a localized supercomputer, spending hours absorbing encyclopedias and writing code. By the age of 12, he had built and sold his first video game for $500. After moving to North America at 17, he entered the early internet boom. He slept in a rented office and coded relentlessly to launch his first startup, an online city directory called Zip2. The physical and emotional isolation of his youth forced an extreme reliance on logic. He learned to trust cold data and calculated probabilities far more than human emotion, a trait that would dictate the rest of his career. When Compaq bought Zip2, Musk walked away with $22 million. Instead of diversifying, he immediately pushed the vast majority of those chips back to the center of the table to disrupt the highly regulated banking industry, launching an online bank called X.com. He quickly found himself in a fierce, cash-burning war with a rival digital bank named PayPal, led by Peter Thiel. To prevent both startups from spending themselves into oblivion, the two companies merged. But his strict reliance on pure logic created friction. He micromanaged operations and publicly criticized employees for minor errors. While Musk was away on his honeymoon, the board of directors staged a coup and ousted him as CEO. Despite losing control, he retained his shares. When eBay acquired PayPal shortly after, Musk received $180 million. Around this time, he suffered the tragic loss of his infant son. Hoping the only way he knew how, he threw himself into work, committing his massive new fortune to humanity's hardest physical engineering problems, space exploration, and fossil fuel reliance. To get to space, he initially traveled to Russia to buy refurbished intercontinental ballistic missiles. The Russians refused to take him seriously and demanded massive premiums. Realizing legacy hardware was heavily overpriced, he decided to build the rockets himself. This chart illustrates his strategy. Instead of paying heavy markups for outsourced parts, he used first principles engineering. He calculated the raw, base cost of aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber, and brought the manufacturing and assembly entirely in-house to slash the final price. He applied that exact same analytical framework to automobiles. Tesla ignored traditional car design to focus completely on powering vehicles with clusters of high-capacity lithium-ion batteries, the same technology used in laptops. Which brings us directly back to the climax of 2008. As the global market crashed and investors fled, Musk sold off his personal assets, including his own sports car, to buy Tesla just enough time to deliver its first batch of roadsters. Simultaneously, SpaceX executed its fourth and final Falcon 1 launch. It reached orbit. Just weeks later, NASA awarded the surviving company a $1.6 billion cargo contract. Musk navigated the 2008 collapse because, while the rest of the financial world succumbed to panic, he relied strictly on his own calculated physics and manufacturing math. After years of solving manufacturing bottlenecks at the Fremont factory, Tesla launched the Model S in 2012. It was a computer with wheels, controlled by a 17-inch touchscreen that improved itself through software updates. SpaceX rapidly evolved from a near-bankrupt startup to an aerospace monolith. They began delivering cargo to the International Space Station and successfully landed reusable rocket boosters, drastically lowering the barrier to spaceflight. He aggressively expanded his infrastructure footprint, launching thousands of Starlink satellites to provide global internet access, and founding Neuralink to physically bridge the gap between human brains and computers. These compounding, successful bets on massive engineering challenges multiplied his wealth exponentially, making him the undisputed richest person on the planet at nearly $400 billion. But the exact unyielding obsession that saved him in 2008 carries a severe edge. His companies frequently report grueling, punishing work environments, and his acquisition of Twitter resulted in immediate, massive staff layoffs. He has evolved from a purely technical builder to a highly polarizing figure, deploying hundreds of millions in financial backing to align himself with top political power. To a portion of the public, his unchecked power and wealth are deeply concerning. To others, his companies represent the only serious attempt at establishing a multi-planetary species. Whether viewed as a visionary or a villain, his trajectory shows a consistent result: the ability to bend the future to your will by risking absolutely everything.